Okay, here we have Commonwealth Bank again. I'll just concentrate on the main lines I'm watching. First, we've got the this downtrending line here catching these last tops, where it's been bumping its head on. So that's an area to watch out for. We've had a little bit of a bounce of this downtrending trend line here, catching these lines. Look, it's still trending down because you've made a lower low now, so we're potentially going up there to make a lower high. So now I've got these lines up here. There's a really high volume bar, so that's the I've marked the high and the low of that bar. I'll probably mark the close of that as well, but it's not really relevant to where we are right now. And I've marked the second highest volume bar right above us, which is that bar there. So at the moment it's still looking weak because it's still making lower lows, and our really high volume bars are above us, not below us. And we're sort of in the middle now, so we're in a bit of no man's land. What do we do with it? So I suppose there are still trades on the intraday, but for a longer term, if you're just doing something longer term, I'd really like to see it. You'd really think you'd really like to get it over that trend line there, wouldn't you? But I mean, I suppose we can have a look at the last high volume buying bar, and that's this one. Oh, hang on, I'll zoom in there. And that's this down bar here. You notice it's a down bar, and the volume is ultra high compared to the bars around it. It's nothing as dramatic as the ones at the volume bars above us, but still, it's a buying bar. There was buying in the bottom of that bar because the next bar closed higher and then started this rally. If that was all selling, then it couldn't close higher the next bar and some decent volume, and that's what started that move up to the top there. And really, we're sort of looking for our long trades for any light volume coming back down to back test that bar there. So I'll give you an example. As it was going up here, it's counted some trouble at the resistance, but before then we got this bar, then we had it come in. That's a test. Let's test that gap there, and it's on the lightest volume in 3 bars, and we've got that as our background strength. So you could possibly have entertained a long position there. You'd be wary as you come up to the resistance line, high volume, there's catching supply, and that's had to come down, but that's a test again, retested, even though it's closed a bit low for a test, but still. That's the sort of thing you're looking for back down onto the onto your high volume area. What we really need is a higher low. That's what we need, because we haven't had one for we haven't had a really good decent one for a good while yet. So I wouldn't really be shorting it, except on the intraday maybe, but on the daily I don't know if I'd be shorting it or going long. It's sort of it's in no man's land. We can see where it's broken down below support here, this buying bar. It's broken down there. It's come down on volume. Volume's persisted and it's held up. It's come down again on very light volume on top of our little trend line from the left there. That was very light volume. That's a test. It's failed because it closed lower, but I think they were yanking that down and to spring it back up. It's mopping up to spring it back up. But it's gone up. This bar here was particularly weak. It's gone up on lighter volume, but they've gapped it up through this area. So we haven't really had any resistance to the price going through that buying bar. So I think they're inviting you to, that's there to invite you to go long. So possibly they could be targeting the this upper trend line here. But I certainly wouldn't, on the longer term, I certainly wouldn't want to be going, you're still downtrending, aren't you? And I wouldn't be wanting to entertain a long position on the daily until it made a significant lower high, and then you can see where it's made that lower high on really light volume. That would be good. But we're in the middle now. We're sort of in the middle here. But anyway, we've had a bounce, so possibly that could be the bottom. Don't know. Possibly. But I still wouldn't be long for the long term yet, because we're still in a downtrend from this high up here. Okay, this is Westpac WBC. Now again, I'm just going to mark the highest volume bars on the map, which is that one. It's important key levels. We're way below that at the moment. We've got the next highest, which is just behind it. And I might just mark the close of that there. And you can see where that's actually still influencing the price today. And if you go to the bottom there, you can see we've broken down below there, but it's gapped back up over. See, they've gapped it over that line, so that's interesting, isn't it? But anyway, you could probably put in a pitchfork there. And that's look, they've gapped it right onto the median there. So there's a little channel there, and that looks parallel there. So I might put in a 75. Oh no, maybe 70% line, and bang, yep. So that gives us a so we've got this downtrending channel here between the median and this 70 percentile parallel here. So look, a bit like a lot of the banks at the moment, it's still making lower lows, and so that's still in a downtrend, definitely from the last high. So we really need to see it make a higher low to be long, short, longer term. And we've got the median line, the top of the channel above us as resistance. I think I've drawn a couple of lines on my other software. Here we go. I'll go to Trade Guider. There we go. And we've got the downtrending line from that peak there, which is, what is that? That's the last high. And we're just sitting, we're closed right there on it, so we need to be a bit careful there. But we've had this other channel here, which was the pitchfork on the other chart that it's been tracking in. This is the standout bar, because that's the highest bar. I'll go to my other chart, sorry. That's the highest bar we've had for a year since these other high volume bars over here. So, and it's a buying bar because it's a down bar, and it's on ultra high volume. Smart money typically buy on down bars and sell on up bars. That's pretty much the only way you can move vast amounts of stock. So they've very ultra high volume, average type spread. You don't have these sorts of wide spreads. It's an average spread, so they've been buying in the bottom of it and it's sprung up. And now I might just put a horizontal line right there. So when it broke that was a little bit of a worry. So I'll just mark the close of that bar. And look, we've gapped below it and gapped back above it. So there's been some response to that buying, and it started low volume. We had a low volume retrace back onto there, so it's looking promising. So we wait for the next bar to kick up on slightly more volume to confirm. It didn't do it, found supply. increased volume, but it closed off its high, so it was pulling up on the bottom of this channel here. And then we get a really low volume test on the bottom of that channel. Price does respond higher, but it's we want to see it slightly increased volume. It was on less volume again, but it's definitely low supply. And the volume comes in and gaps up above the line again. Low volume gap, but they're not looking particularly convincing, are they? But anyway, they have gapped over that line. I might go back here and just because it's easier to draw, quicker to draw the lines on the Pro Real Time. I'll just there's our buying bar there. That's gapped back above there, so that's good. So we want to see some really low volume testing back on that bar, but we've got resistance. We've got that median line that's been resisting us right above us, and we've also got that high volume area we've been having trouble with. That's from that second in command over there. So really, again, we're sort of in the middle again, in no man's land. But at least we've got this most recent buying bar is below us now. So so what we need to make now is a higher low to we can make a higher low and probably feel a lot more comfortable if we made a higher high as well. Then we can have a look at where that higher low is coming down to. We're looking for a really light volume with a bit of risk plus confirmation by price going up to be longer term. But you know, we have made, I mean, that was new lows there. So if you're a short, if you're going short, you'd be asking it to break these real all-time lows. So anyway, so it's really not telling me much there. It's not a particularly strong bar. It's closed in the middle, narrow spread. It did go up on higher volume. It has gapped over our buying bar, so I suspect I'll bring it down back into there. But you just got to watch that upper trend line channel there, I suppose, on Westpac. And if we get these up thrusts, so you get here, you get the typical VSS sign. You get an up thrust, then you get it's looking like no demand, and then where those two lines cross there, and it just collapsed after that. So so it's got some room to move to the upside and a little bit to the downside, but nothing fantastic. It is weak because it is still downtrending, so it's but I'll be keeping my eye on any retrace, a higher low above our buying bar over here. That's if we're looking for a longer term entry, but at the moment I wouldn't want to be long any of the banks in particular at the moment. This is MQG, Macquarie Group, and you can see that's been a protracted downtrend at the moment. I'll just zoom in on that last area there, and so even from there we've been in this downtrending channel between this upper line here and the middle line. So that's still making lower lows and lower highs at the moment. I did notice if we go over further here, I'm looking for a big volume bar. There it is. There's two of them there, so I'll mark those off as some levels because they look like they might be round about where we have them at the moment. I'm just marking the high and the lows of our really high volume bar, and the really high ones, the one above it there. Just see where we are in relation to those lines. because these high volume areas, they're the we're looking at the consensus of opinion of the professional money in the market, all this volume here, and where we see ultra high volume, then those areas become significant. Later on down the track, here we go, trend line, horizontal line, there we go, and I'll mark the high of that bar, and I might mark even the middle of it. It might give us too many lines, but the close of it is probably important. And we'll go back over and see where we are now. Okay, so there's the okay, so we've gapped down that area, so they know that line's there, and we've gapped down below there and gapped back up. And just as we're approaching that line, because that was a, if I remember correctly, having a look there, that was where they've been, that's where they bought before. We've had ultra high volume coming down, then bouncing way back up again as they're just buying up everything in sight. And price goes up, but you always notice that they'll always, most of the time, they'll bring it back. Any high volume, they'll retest for supply. And buying too close to these bounces can be, ultra high volume can be a bit deadly, because if they can get it down here, they'll try and get it down there. And if plenty of people have been willing to sell down there, they will test that area again to make sure. Before they take it higher, they want to soak up all the floating supply, and that's anyone who's willing to sell the shares. They want to try and take it off them over here. So, and what that does is once you've taken up all the floating supply in the stock, then there's only one path. The path of least resistance is up. So the market moves on imbalances on supply and demand. So it moves on high demand and high supply, but it also moves on really low supply and really low demand. When you have really low supply, the path of least resistance is up, and that's their objective, to take out the floating supply. And that basically gives them control of the stock. And let's have a look. They don't have to. When I say floating supply, I'm not talking about all your funds and all that. People who never sell, just hang on to their shares and never sell. They're not so much interested in those. They're interested in more the short-term sellers. If they take out all the short-term sellers, there's no one to oppose the price going back up. But anyway, we do, if we zoom in here, I'll just so we are in that area where they were buying before, but we broke down below there. But as we broke down below there, ultra high volume comes in. See, really high volume. So they pull that up. Next bar goes up. So if that was all selling there, it couldn't close up again like that. So they've been taking that up. The next bar does go down, but it's on very low volume compared to the up 2 bars prior. So that's the low. So the selling starts drying up, and it's confirmed. So you get a nice little confirmation. Selling going up, then price going up on slightly more volume. That's a really nice signal there. Unfortunately, we like to see those above this line. If we saw something like that on top of this bar, you'd be in there. You'd be in there. You could be in there as well, but it's very high risk. It's higher risk because they could be just holding it up to distribute more. But if you see that coming down back on top of this bar, those 2 bars together there, you'd be in there. You'd be wrong. But I'd be probably wary, because we're still downtrending, and you haven't got a lot to go. There's not a great amount of distance to to a downtrending channel, and there's not a lot of we haven't made a higher low yet. So we want to make a higher low above one of these significant levels. If we can make a low above one of these significant levels, ideally we'd want to get away from this green downtrending channel that would be good, even if we move sideways away from it. Just we keep knocking our head against it. And so I would like to move away from that and make a higher low, and then we can start looking at we've got some targets there at 36 and 40 where our next resistance levels could be. But that is your bullish bar there that you want to get above. We are above it. So that's the first step. Now we need to make a higher low, preferably outside this green downtrending channel. And because we've got that channel there, and we've got the bottom of that really high volume bar there at the 31.65 as well. So a couple of key levels just above us, so we need to be careful. But it's looking like it's trying to do something, isn't it? It's trying to support there, and it's around that area where they've been buying it before. So, but you know, like most of the banks, they're still making lower lows. So, but if you're going to be shorting now, you're now asking it to go into really new territory as far as the volume goes. But let's make a higher low, and then and see where that higher low tests, and then we'll if we see this two bar pattern retracing down on top of our volume bar, that would be a good start for a long. But in the downtrending channel, we are paying more attention to weak bars at the top of the channel than we are to strong bars at the bottom of the channel. We expect some strength at the bottom of the channel to start coming in, but we want to see those strong little signals like that there that we got there. We'd like to see them once we start moving up. They're really better long entries from a volume point of view, because what they do is they buy volume, any volume down where they've rammed it down, taken it up, that volume. Most of the time they will come back and recheck that volume for supply, because what they do is they accumulate on the low, take out the supply, and then it comes really easy. They don't have to spend a lot of money at all moving it up, and they'll move it up on good news. Good news comes in, and they'll do these little gapping moves to try and convince you to participate in a rally. And sometimes that can be just very temporary, where they're just gapping it up to so they can sell it to you. But the object of the game, when they're accumulating, the object is to take up all the floating supply and take control of it. And those low volume tests back into these high volume areas tells them they've soaked up all the supply in that area, and there's no opposition, very little opposition now to taking the price up. That's assuming they're accumulating. They will do the same thing in a downtrend to take it up to the top of the channel to sell into it again. So you got to be wary now. We need to get out of this channel. But that's a really high volume bar. That's ultra high volume. We haven't had that for a while now. The last one was up here. That made us a little reversal up here. So and that was at our that's another one of our key levels there at 35. See, the high volume kicks in right at that same level. Yeah, so that's interesting. So you're 35 and you're 39 there. If we can make a higher low, then and get out of this downtrending channel, then you can have a look at those as targets.